you're not really going to be able to utilize that attack.
Oh, here we go. Top 4, make some noise for Victor Medina versus Davide Carrera with that Pelipper Basculegion lead up against the Indeedee Espathra.
Yeah, the Basculegion is in its perfect preferred position with the Swift Swim activated, the Choice Band under its belt. It is going to be offering some big damage here, especially into the Indeedee, which you would say is probably the more prime target because the Espathra probably wants to protect here. It does, if it goes for the protect, Victor has the opportunity to go for a Tailwind on the Pelipper to put that Basculegion even further ahead of where it is already with that rain set on the field. And if it goes after the Indeedee, it does have to be careful because of the Rocky Helmet item there. You don't want to take any unnecessary chip damage, but if it does mean securing a knockout, if you're confident in that, it could be the difference between winning and losing this first set.
Oh, already that Pelipper is going to be withdrawn for that Incineroar. A really nice switch in. Just wanting to make sure it's going to be immune to those psychic type attacks coming off from either the Indeedee or the Espathra. Espathra now immediately going for the turn 1 Terrestrialization into the psychic type, indicating it is possibly wanting to go for an expanding force, and paired up with Indeedee might be doing a lot of damage, but Indeedee now becomes the center of attention with that follow me, which allows space for the Basculegion to go for a flip turn and takes off quite a bit of health from this Indeedee. But now Basculegion gets the chance to swap out.
Yeah, and it's a really nice safe play from Victor, getting some good damage onto the field already. That Indeedee going to be threatened by another flip turn or another strong attack later on in this game. You get the Archaludon onto the field, and this is going to resist those psychic type attacks. So you've got one immunity in the Incineroar, great play, and a resist in that Archaludon, and at the same time, it's going to boost that stamina ability, give you a +1 in defense. It still takes quite a lot of damage when you're considering that the Espathra has Terrestrialized. It's got the boost there, and also from the Psychic Terrain. And there we go. There's the speed boost. One of those getting started. A couple more of those. The Basculegion isn't going to be in as good a position as it was before. But now the Incineroar out in the field, it is going to offer a lot more pressure onto that Espathra. The knockoff going to be very threatening. And also that Indeedee can't really feel as safe as it once did. The Archaludon has that body press that it can go into that slot, hit for neutral, +1 defense. It is probably going to be enough to pick up the knockout there, leaving the Incineroar kind of free to go after the Espathra.
Incineroar's just in a really, really nice position here, and it's just not threatened at all. It can even maybe go for a parting shot, but it looks like Indeedee now going to swap out, maybe quite threatened by, say, a knockoff or a body press, but the Hydreigon is going to switch in. Espathra now keeping it safe for this turn, just trying to scout out what Victor is going to do. And looks like the Electro Shot will be coming off from this Archaludon, getting that +1 to its special attack and getting ready to target down a Pokemon. It is going to be that Hydreigon, so a very nice switch in. Going to be resistant. Takes it really, really well. And now what does the Incineroar go for? It's the knockoff into the Espathra, but which protects.
Yeah, really nice protect there. Again, you're going to get another speed boost, putting you further ahead. And the Hydreigon, a really nice switch in, is going to be able to resist those elemental attacks coming out from the Archaludon. It is going to be weak to the body press, and because of that initial chip damage that it's taken, it probably will be susceptible to a knockout there. You don't really have as many safe switch-ins either with the Indeedee. If that comes in, probably will go down to a body press. So an easy target for Victor this next turn. We'll see what the choices are.
Oh, a Luminous Crash of Terra Psychic doesn't do quite that much, but more importantly, gets that special defense drop on this Archaludon, which means the Hydreigon, which is next to move, will be able to double up into it with a Draco Meteor, which connects and knocks out the Archaludon with an uncritical hit. And that is going to be the first knockout we're going to get in this game.
Yeah, big knockout for Davide and taking down a really important piece of Victor's puzzle here, but the knockoff is in response.
A knockout!
Big knockout in return from that Incineroar into the Espathra, taking down that huge threat. There is nothing to really take advantage of that Psychic Terrain on Davide's side any longer, and the Hydreigon weakened because of that Draco Meteor. It's had to commit -2 on its special attack. It will not be hitting as hard going into this next turn with that Indeedee in the back. Switches are limited now with the Basculegion coming back onto the field and that rain still active. It will be able to pressure that Sneasler that has entered the fray for Davide.
It's so interesting seeing a lot of these Pokemon on the field. There's no speed control, but Sneasler with Unburden gets double speed. Basculegion in the rain also gets double speed. Now, Sneasler typically tends to be faster than Basculegion, so I wouldn't be surprised to see it outspeed. And it hasn't taken an attack drop, so it heavily threatens this Incineroar with a close combat. Hydreigon, as you mentioned earlier, at -2 special attack, really won't be doing very much.
Yeah, and the one thing about Sneasler that it's got up its sleeve is it does have access to throw chop, so we'll be able to put a lot of pressure onto that Basculegion this next turn, where it can potentially pick up a knockout, prevent that Pokemon from getting too carried away. But the one thing that you would say that Victor does have up their sleeve is still Terastallization. They can commit that if they do threat that Throat Chop.
So Davide goes for a bit of a slower turn here with that Protect, which blocks the flip turn from the Basculegion, which allows this Hydreigon to get an attack off. And it is going to be the Draco Meteor onto Basculegion at -2. It does barely anything, which means this Hydreigon now at -4 and is going to get that safety goggles knocked off. So not a lot of damage this turn, but now the Sneeze has gone for a Protect. It's going to be able to get an attack off this next turn.
It will get an attack off this next turn, but it is going to be in the... it really comes down to the Throat Chop. If the Throat Chop can pick up the knockout, where you would say probably yes, it can now because of that chip from the Draco Meteor. It didn't do a lot, but probably enough to put it in range for that Sneasler to pick up a big knockout. It does leave the Incineroar kind of open, though, where it can go for a parting shot, or it can go for an attack even into the Sneasler here, just to get some chip onto it, although you're probably better off cycling that Intimidate, so parting shot coming out into something like the Hydreigon, or that Sneasler might be the better option here to try and lower the offensive capabilities of that Pokemon. Basculegion is in a bit of a pinch. Does it stay on the field? It looks like it does.
Oh, close combat into Basculegion. Did not get the call right, and Basculegion will get the flip down, and the one-hit knockout into the Sneasler. Sneasler goes down, and Victor is able to swap out his Basculegion for another Pokemon in the back.
Yeah, huge overcompensation. You could see what Davide is trying to do there. Think that the Basculegion so pressured by that Throat Chop, it's going to switch out. I'll catch something on the switch in, go for the close combat, or even predict that Terastallization. Didn't happen. Victor being very brave there, getting a huge payoff and picking up a massive knockout on the biggest threat that Davide still got left in their side of the field.
Hydreigon's special attack won't go any lower. It's gone for 3 Draco Meteors, so this parting shot doesn't really do anything to its special attack, but does allow Victor to swap out his Incineroar for that Basculegion in the back. And now Davide down to his final 2 Pokemon, an Indeedee and a -6 Hydreigon. There's really just no offensive pressure coming off from Davide's side at the moment, and I'm really struggling to see how Davide can pull this game around.
Yeah, it's going to be very difficult from this position, especially when the Hydreigon special attack is -6. It's not really going to have the damage output that you require against the 3 remaining Pokemon. Of course, you still have Snarl to kind of chip away at things, but then again, your partnering Pokemon, the Indeedee, still not really the preferable offensive choice that you need. The overextension there on that previous turn with the Sneasler to try and capitalize on a Terastallization from the Basculegion just really came back. High risk, high reward, but that risk came back to bite Davide there, and you could see what was happening. Victor capitalizing off it, and I think the players now probably just want to play this out. We know it's going to go to Victor, and just taking their time to gather their thoughts, especially Davide, on how to approach Game 2.
Fantastically played from Victor there, making that aggressive read and keeping the Basculegion in. Now this Incineroar is going to switch and get a very unnecessary attack drop on both these special attackers. Snarl does come off. There's no critical hit. Tickles the Basculegion a little bit. It does allow the Basculegion now to get an attack off. And yeah, both special attack drops not quite mattering, but that absolutely gigantic wave crash coming off onto this Indeedee knocks it out. Basculegion takes a bit of recoil from both the wave crash and that rocky helmet.
Yeah, now this next turn, we've got the Fake Out that the Incineroar can just apply to the Hydreigon, followed up with a wave crash, but it might see a forfeit just around the corner, and that is what has happened. So Victor Medina taking Game 1 here in the semi-final, 1-0 up, one step closer to the finals here in Frankfurt.
What a fast and decisive game that was. It really could have gone either way. I think that turn where that Sneasler went for that close combat, obviously trying to get that read onto the Terrawater. Had it gone for the Throat Chop, the Basculegion would have just been knocked out, and then it would have been possibly a very different game outcome.
I think it would have been completely different. I think Davide would have clinched that game if it went for the Throat Chop, and it always comes down. It's a real highlight of these 50-50 moments in a game where if you get one of them wrong because the margins are so fine, the match can go the other way, and that's exactly what happened. But you've got to give credit to Victor there because, you know, all of the mind games going on saying, okay, well, he knows I could Terastallize. I haven't used it yet. is the likelihood that he's going to use Throw Chop. Maybe he thinks I'm going to Terastallize. Let's see if I can get away with this. And it's exactly what happened. And in the return of it, picking up the Sneasler, which was a huge threat. It got no return in that match at all, which was incredible for Victor. Not so incredible for Davide. But you can see the pressure that Davide applied at the start of that game. If he can kind of replicate that going into game 2, he might be able to overwhelm Victor with this psychic kind of combination between the Espathra, the Indeedee, and the Hydreigon, to the point where Victor can't make a comeback.
Oh, here we go. This is game number 2. Victor has to win if he wishes to advance, and Davide has to win if he wants to bring it to a game 3. So we are ready for game 2. Once again, the Pelipper and Basculegion, but this time a switch up, a complete switch up of Hydreigon and Kingambit. So a double dark lead on the field.
Yeah, you can see how much of a threat this Basculegion is to Davide on the choice of Pokemon with the Hydreigon, that Kingambit. You're pressuring now with the Sucker Punch onto the Basculegion and almost forcing it to go for that Terastallization to get rid of that dark weakness there. And that might give Davide a little bit of an advantage knowing where that Terastallization's coming. And it looks exactly like that from Victor here.
Turn 1 Terastallization onto this Basculegion. Does not want to take a super effective Sucker Punch coming off from this Kingambit. But now this Basculegion with Terra Water type in the rain with the choice is going to do so much damage. Sucker Punch does not take more than half health on this Basculegion and allows it to get a phenomenal flip turn off on this Kingambit. Not quite enough to get the knockout, but gets this Kingambit down so low on this health. And now we're going to see which Pokemon Victor brings out in the back. And it is going to be that Archaludon. So another Pokemon that can take advantage of the rain.
Yeah, we do see a Taunt come out from the Hydreigon, preventing potentially a Tailwind coming out here, but it's not the Tailwind. The double up into the Kingambit and a quick knockout onto that big threat on Davide's side. Victor taking an early lead here.
Oh, a fantastic knockout for Victor here. Now that there's no more threat of Sucker Punch, that Basculegion is quite safe. Of course, we did get a glimpse of the Pokemon that Davide has in the back, which is the Sneasler and Indeedee, which means if the Sneasler gets that Unburden boost, it will still be faster than Basculegion.
Yeah, and to get that Unburden boost, you're going to have to get that Indeedee on the field. It does mean switching out the Hydreigon, which isn't in a terrible position right now, but it is going to be threatened by potentially a Draco Meteor from that Archaludon. So you've got to really commit into that slot, which isn't the worst thing in the world because you know the Assault Vest there. There's not going to be any Protect. So you can pretty freely go for close combat and the Draco Meteor into that slot and know that you'll pick up the knockout potentially with both of those attacks as long as that Draco Meteor does connect.
And, well, now the Sneasler is in a good position. You know that Archaludon cannot Terastallize anymore because it was used up by the Basculegion. Looks like Hydreigon, as you called out, is going to swap out for this Indeedee. So it's going to activate the Psychic Seed for the Sneasler and give it that Unburden boost and also give it that +1 to its special defense. So Sneasler is going to be the fastest Pokemon on the field for this game, and we're going to get a switch also from Victor's side, from the Pelipper into this Incineroar. So a very nice switch in, getting that -1 attack drop on the Sneasler, which will help with that Archaludon surviving a potential close combat.
No close combat this time, though, just to protect, to scout out what Victor decides to go after here. But we are going to start off with an Electro Shot in this matchup in front of the Archaludon, though. That Psychic Seed special defense boost going to be actually really useful. But for free, the Archaludon has got a +1 to its special attack. This next time around, it is going to be hitting that a little bit harder. But the Sneasler does have a little bit of an ace up in its pocket. It's got the Helping Hand support from the Indeedee, so boosting those attacks even further. The Incineroar can't utilize the Fake Out because of the Psychic terrain, and it is going to be prone to getting knocked out by a Helping Hand close combat this next turn.
Yes, this Archaludon is so heavily threatened, and here we go. Here is the Helping Hand on this Sneasler. It's going to go for a super effective close combat. Is it enough to get it? Okay, it is not enough. Archaludon hangs on, and this means Archaludon will be free to get an attack off onto either Pokemon on Davide's side.
Yeah, it's going to be another Electro Shot. It will boost its special attack once more. One turn attack because of the rain being active on the field, and then which target it will be into. It looks like it is into that Indeedee because it doesn't have that boost to its special defenses, and Incineroar left alone here, able to get a all-important parting shot off into the Sneasler, lower that attack even further, and more importantly, the Intimidate is now nestled in the back, so whenever Victor wants to bring it back onto the field, further weaken attacking that Sneasler, it is going to be able to do that.
This is a fantastic point. Sneasler is at -2 attack. So if the Incineroar does choose to switch in next switch, you can see that our Chaladon's so heavily chipped. It might want to be replaced by the Incineroar. Sneasler at -3 attack really is not a threat. And now you've got this Swift Swim Choice Band Basculegion in the rain. That is an absolutely terrifying Pokemon to face up against. Indeed, he can keep Sneasler safe with a Follow Me, so there is that option for Davide.
Yeah, there is that option, but I think one attack is all that Victor is going to need to dispose of that Indeedee. And once that's down, then the Sneasler is going to be pinned on the field, and it's already taken two Intimidate. Oh, well, an Intimidate and a Parting Shot, and that's -2, so it's still not going to have that impact. The one ace of Davide's hand is the Dire Claw and that status condition. If it can get it into the Basculegion, it's not going to be able to knock out, but it might be able to pick up a key. But it will guarantee a knockout if it goes for that close combat like it's doing into the Arcaladon and remove that threat.
Our Chaladon is going to get picked off by that close combat, which gives the Basculegion room to go for an attack, which has been redirected into the Indeedee if it did choose to target a different Pokemon. But the Flip Turn now comes off onto this Indeedee, knocks it out, takes some recoil damage, and it does mean that Davide is down to his final 2 Pokemon, which means his Sneasler is stuck on the field with that -2 attack and potentially a -3 if that Incineroar comes in.
Yeah, it will be -3 once that Incineroar lands on the field once again, making it way less effective than what it would be coming fresh onto the field, of course. The Psychic Terrain's still in effect, so the Fake Out not really a problem for the Sneasler so much, but that Hydreigon that is going to come in, you're going to have to rely on the Draco Meteor for that big damage, because outside of that, it does have Snarl, but it only has Taunt and Protect. No damaging attacks outside of the Draco Meteor, and the drawback of Draco Meteor, if it misses those key knockouts and you need to use it again and again, you're taking -2 special attack every time you're doing it, essentially weakening yourself. So you really need to make sure your targeting is on point here to capitalize and try and get back into this game.
Oh, now the rain turns are also close to ending, I believe. So there's a lot of different options for Victor here. He's taking his time to send out his Pokemon, which is going to be that Basculegion. Sneasler at -3. I wonder if that's going to be enough to get the knockout.
You would say probably not from this range. I think Basculegion very good defensively anyway, and I think with the -3, you feel like the Sneasler are going to really struggle in this scenario where the Basculegion is going to have kind of a free shot at going for the Flip Turn into the Sneasler, and we've seen before that do the damage. That is going to probably be enough to pick up the knockout, especially when you look at the defense drops that the Sneasler's taken from the close combat. The Incineroar in a nice spot where it could potentially just go for a Parting Shot. It's going to get that really slow pivot off the field and allow the Pelipper to come on the field again. The problem doing that is you get the Pelipper onto the field and the rain stops, and then you have to switch around again. But is that so much of a problem? Because then you cycle Intimidate a little bit more. You wait out that Psychic Terrain until that Fake Out becomes available. So could be an option. But double protect here from Davide. Just wants to see what this Basculegion's locked into.
Yes, what this Basculegion has locked into. And also for the Hydreigon, since it is not immune to a Fake Out, since it's levitating, it also blocks that nice Fake Out. And we can see now Basculegion has locked into the Flip Turn, which of course is going to be whiffed by that Protect. But more importantly, Rain has expired. So this Basculegion no longer has doubled speed, which means the Hydreigon likely outspeeds it.
Yeah, there is a safe switch of the Incineroar just directly switching out, the Pelipper coming onto the field, activating the Rain again with the Drizzle ability. So the Basculegion can at least get the jump on the Hydreigon. It's an easy target this next turn as well. You've just got to be worried about potentially a Dire Claw from that Sneasler. And at this point, it's not the damage that you're worried about, it's those secondary effects that can be a bit detrimental.
Oh, close combat. Immediately, he's done enough to get the knockout. Basculegion hangs on with 1 HP. And that's going to allow the Hydreigon to get the Soul. Did that? Oh, he missed the... Oh no, the Incineroar gets the knockout on the Basculegion. So Basculegion is failed without being able to do anything and forces Victor to bring out his final Pokemon, which is going to be that Pelipper in the back. But first, Incineroar gets a flame. It's a knockout on this Sneasler as well.
Yeah, identifying, okay, if the Basculegion goes down, then that's fine because get the Flare Blitz into the Sneasler, and this Hydreigon is going to really struggle to deal with this Incineroar, especially if we see parting shots come onto it, weaken it even further, and my Pelipper can come onto the field. It is going to be powered up by the rain. It is going to have those 100% accurate Hurricanes. Yes, I might have to deal with Snarls, but also you're going to have to deal with potential confusion turns, and it's 2v1 in this scenario.
Yeah, I'm really struggling to see how Hydreigon can win this game. If it goes for Draco Meteor, it's just reducing its own special attack, and Incineroar just in a really nice defensive position here.
Yeah, it is, and it can just chip away with those knockoffs. It can even Flare Blitz if it wants to, even though the rain's up. But we are probably going to see the cycling of the parting shot coming out into this Hydreigon now. We are going to see the first Snarl, but you'll be able to weaken it so easily with the Incineroar here. We might even see a knockoff just to get that chip damage onto it. But the Pelipper just wanted to preserve its health and its ability to attack a little bit harder this next turn. There is the knockoff into the Hydreigon.
Yep, Hydreigon now has had its safety goggles knocked off. Not very relevant in this game. But now it gets that chance to maybe drop a super powerful Draco Meteor onto this Pelipper. It is going to be a Snarl, connects on both Pokemon, does a good amount of damage to the Pelipper. More importantly, gets that special attack drop on the Pelipper, which means that its Hurricanes won't be hitting very hard, and we're going to see just how effective that is. Yeah, look how well this Hydreigon took it, but it's just slowly getting whittled away by this Incineroar.
Yeah, it's going to be close with another combination of the Hurricane and the knockoff, but you've got to say with another Snarl, it'll probably weaken the Hurricane a little bit further, so the Hydreigon will be able to survive. Now, can a Draco Meteor pick up the Pelipper? Because if it can, then you can start going after that Incineroar, but you're going to have to hope for a critical hit, I think, at that stage after the initial drop. But if the Draco Meteor gets the Pelipper, then we're 1v1 again. Things even up a little bit, but you've still got to say that everything falling and looking like it's going in Victor's favor here.
Yeah, this Hydreigon really also just needs to also connect its Draco Meteors. Looks like Pelipper not really wanting to run the chance of getting knocked out by a Draco Meteor, going for a protect. So Hydreigon's Draco Meteor now doesn't affect the Pelipper at all, which allows this Incineroar room to get another knockoff, which does about 18 damage to this Hydreigon.
Yeah, so another 3 knockoffs, well guaranteed. Can the Hydreigon knock out both the Pelipper and the Incineroar in time? You've got to say the Draco Meteor probably coming out into the Pelipper now. That will be enough, but it leaves the door open for Incineroar as the Draco Meteor is dropping.
Oh, it is enough to get the knockout. So, can this Hydreigon get a critical hit?
That's what it needs against the Incineroar. That is the saving grace. It will be able to take this knockoff as Victor throws it out into the field. It's going to be very close. If it's a high roll, it might even get it this next turn, but it all comes down to this Draco Meteor. Has to connect on the Incineroar. Has taken a little bit of damage before, so we'll see if it can connect. And I think we all know what Davide is hoping for here to tie this set up. If not, Victor is one step, a hair's width away from getting into the final here at the Frankfurt Regional Championship.
Here we go. Draco Meteor is not enough. And it does not get the critical hit on this Incineroar, which Incineroar, in fact, didn't even go for the attack that time. Just goes for a nice save parting shot onto this Hydreigon, which is now at -5 special attack.
And now the rain stops. Now you can utilize that Flare Blitz. Now it's not weakened and pick up, hopefully, a knockout. Another Draco Meteor, though. No critical hit. One last stitched attempt. And it looks like Víctor Medina will be progressing to the finals here at the Frankfurt Regional Championships.
Well done, Víctor Medina, for progressing to the finals of the Frankfurt Regionals. What an absolutely phenomenally well-played 2 games. Just, I'm in awe.
Incredible. Absolutely incredible.